Right. And good morning. We are back with another episode of 90s Noise. That's what you get in the morning, this early in the
It's
morning.
too early. I'm telling you that. I have not quite woken up yet, everyone. So you might be getting a sleepy episode.
Don't worry, you might just hear random screams, and that's the reason to wake you up.
Yeah, especially if you're listening to this on your morning drive to work. I mean, that's a great way to kind of like get you going.
And just be like, what's going on? No, 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 no screaming, no screaming. But yeah. All right. I'm April, born 1991.
And Ashley, born 1988.
I don't have any special saying with this one because
No.
this is actually going to be an interesting episode. I personally think
Hmm.
we're talking about a family that was very big in the 90s and into the 2000s. The I'm probably going to pronounce it incorrectly, but this is how I pronounced it my entire life. The Mowry family. So we
I think that's
were
right, though, to be honest. I think it is the Maoris.
when there's a W thrown in there, that's when I'm always kind of I just I don't I'm horrible with pronunciations. Anyway, so we are talking Tia, Tamera, and Tosh Mowry,
Hmm.
who honestly I feel were kind of the original Disney everything people.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think they were definitely like my childhood. Um, I remember being like obsessed watching not all of their stuff. Clearly,
Mhm.
there's things I missed, but um, and I think a lot of that was just like the incorporation of TGIF, sort of,
Mhm.
getting their stuff in front of more people because it wasn't like necessarily I don't think it was like Disney first, but I feel like it definitely they became involved with Disney and it just like they blew up and were like in your face all the time doing different things and they just have
Well, I mean,
had such a crazy career and life.
yeah. Well, I mean, I wasn't it Disney though? Sister Sister was originally Disney, wasn't it?
I
I take
think.
Sister Sister as kind of
But I mean
the
we didn't can
forefront
we
of
not
it.
find it on Disney?
It's not on Disney
So
Plus.
that's why I'm
That's the
like, I don't know if it's
well, let's
truly I mean, it's just for me, it's like up there with Boy Meets World as far as that's like one of the earliest
mhm.
like Disney type shows that I remember watching. And but like I said, I know it was a part of TGIF, so I don't know I can't remember which came first.
Well, so Sister Sister act premiered in what 2000 or just yeah 2000 in 1994, ran through 1999, 119 episodes.
But yeah, I did say it premiered on ABC
Okay. So,
first. I
so
think
I
what
mean,
happened is
technically
Disney
that
picked it
is,
up and was doing what Disney
yeah.
always did with stuff.
Well, but ABC was always a Disney property, or at
Right.
least for the most part, it's always been. So, I mean, guess technically Full House would be considered the original introductions because Tahj was on
Hmm.
that. Both Tia and Tamara did pulled a Michelle in a sense and shared a role.
Yeah,
Um,
I think I definitely remember Taj first.
yeah,
Like that was my
definitely.
first introduction to him because, and I don't really even think I grasped that they were siblings for quite a while. Like, I don't know. I don't feel like I ever made that connection, or I don't know that they ever like, maybe they were trying to tell us that, but I mean, besides the name, like, I don't know. It wasn't like obvious to me. I was just like, oh, I just remember Teddy though. His character was always just so cute and lovable.
Yeah.
Like you can't like not
Oh
like
yeah.
his character on the episodes that he was in Full House.
Yeah. No, that Teddy was always fun to watch and everything. But Personally, for me, I feel I don't know, I feel like they actually kind of had it seems like they had a contract with ABC Disney exclusively
Probably. I wouldn't
because you
doubt
really
it.
didn't see them in much else
Mm-mm.
until they got about college age, or just
Mm.
or graduating college type age. But and that's not something that was very common anymore, was having contracts with these studios. They haven't really done that until just recently again, um, where it's you're doing so much
Mm.
for this, and that's what they used to do in like the 50s and 60s, was you had a contract with a specific studio,
Mm-hmm.
and that's why certain people were always in movies together because they
Right.
had the same contracts and they had to fulfill that. And I feel like that kind of was how the Mowrys were set up, honestly. Just how much they
Probably.
showed up
Yeah.
in
How
so
much
many
they
different
showed up,
things.
yeah, which shows they specifically showed up in. I mean, I
Hmm.
think that those were all very telling of their kind of commitment to Disney or
Hmm.
whatever, company it was that they kind of had it with. I mean, because it was, I mean, from the time I feel like Sister started to when they kind of started getting out of that, I mean, it was a good 10 years. But then
Yeah.
you go into Twitches, which was a Disney movie, so then that's extending it past 10 years, though. I mean, it was a bit longer, but that's
Yeah.
until they were able to finally break that mold and do things that were more aligned with, I feel like, that worked for them at what their age was. Because I mean, it's not common to see. I mean, because they were in their mid 20s, I think, doing Twitches. So for them to still be a part of Disney, it's not common to have like that old of people. I mean, it's not old, but Disney is
Yeah.
all about the young crowd and like who's the new like person we can start getting into. And so it's kind
Hmm.
of weird that they even did Twitches so late in their career. Like that
So
was that was strange for me, I have to admit.
I I have a feeling, and maybe if I don't know who we'd even like be able to talk to in a sense, but I truly feel that Disney held some of their stuff and didn't put it out until later on.
Like
Because
what in
like
particular? Because I know Twitches was specifically filmed in the year that it came out because I was looking into it. So like
was
those were,
it?
yeah, those were definitely like 2005 movies.
I
And then
feel
like I remember you saying, oh yeah, I remember you saying like 17 again. You thought that was, but
it just
I was telling you I don't think I ever had seen it, but Taj definitely looks much older. So it's very clear to me that it's like past his smart guy and all that phase because he's definitely like older-ish. I mean, it took him a while to age. I mean, like
but he's not that he doesn't seem that much older in 17 again.
and 17 again's not even a Disney movie. Disney picked it up later.
Yeah.
It was
So
like a
maybe
Showtime movie, which was a bit risque for their career.
So maybe that's what it was. I didn't realize that it was that Disney picked it up later, because when it premiered on Disney, it was literally he had just been in something where it was later, it wasn't 2000 when it premiered
Uh,
on Disney,
that
because
makes
I
sense.
remember watching it and being like, this doesn't look right. I just watched him in something where he's like grown into himself, and it was just, and so that's why I was
You're
always
like, he's
like,
going backwards.
yeah, I'm like, he's going backwards, what the
Benjamin
hell?
Button, damn.
Damn. So is it just me, or do producers, writers, whoever, like to almost kind of pigeonhole twins into like two separate categories? Like we've talked about with Mary Kate and Ashley. Mary Kate was always the tomboy, Ashley was always the girly girl.
Hmm.
I I kid you not, like rewatching some of the sisters, Twitches. I remember 17 again. I haven't seen that for a while, but I do remember it very clearly. Tia was always kind of more the smarter, more reserved, not even I don't even know exactly how to describe, but just I guess reserved probably is the best way to
Mm-hmm.
describe
Yeah.
it. Her character was always more reserved, more cautious, whereas Tamara's always the more bubbly, like, oh, let's do this, let's do that, let's do that. Like I feel like the Cammy in her character Cammy in Twitches was very over exaggerated on how they've had her in other roles. Do you feel that way too? Like they always kind of just
So I was going to ask you, I mean, we're talking about another set of twins in the 90s, which, is, I can't even think of another set of twins that really took over my life in the 90s besides the Olsens. And then,
Ashmore's for me. Sean and Aaron Ashmore.
yeah, but they're like early 2000s.
No, I think Animorphs was 90s
Yeah,
where
but I mean, you're talking 99, girl. We're talking like who was okay. But no. So one of the things with Tia and Tamara is which was always way more difficult for me than Mary Kate and Ashley. Like I could tell Mary Kate and Ashley apart like all the time. Tia and Tamara, I like struggle with watching their stuff and f figuring out who is who. Like, was that a thing that happened
Ye-
with you? They look
yes, but
so similar.
Tamara has the
Right,
mole birthmark, whatever
right.
it is, right by her nose. So that's where I always I would always just want to flip-flop their names. It wasn't necessarily like I couldn't tell them apart in a sense,
Just didn't
like,
know who was called who type thing.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah, yeah.
because of the
Yeah, that's
whole because of
probably.
it Tia Tamara. It just sometimes when I was younger, it got mixed up in my head in the sense that I knew which one I was talking about, but I just couldn't remember which name went with like
Yeah,
I could describe
the
her and
character
everything.
or whatever. Yeah, that makes
Yeah,
sense.
and
Yeah.
it just was always, wait, is that which one is that? Like which name goes with that character?
But yeah, I think you're right on like just some of the stuff I was rewatching. It was very clear that they did try to make one of them more of like the brains, one of them more of like the boy crazy one, and like I think it's a little harder with because they were a little older than like the
Mhm.
Olsens when they were trying to make that divide. So I feel like for them it was a little bit harder to do because they were more teenagers. They were more of like figuring out like discovering themselves and kind of going through phases. So I'm sure for them there was probably a lot of like butting heads on who got to do what. And I was it
Yeah.
Sister or an episode that I forgot I was reading something that like or maybe it was one of the movies. They were like, "Oh, you're going to play this one and you're going to play that one." But they like told the team a couple days before like, "No, I'm actually going to play this character." And so like they swapped roles. So I'm kind of like curious as to how the discussions went on like who got to
I'm
decide what character.
I kind of want to know what that was for then. Because that's the thing. A lot of twins were did they either did the like with Tia and Tamara where they played twins. That kind of was where they were
Hmm.
introduced, or like Mary Kay and Ashley, they played the same character because they were so young and because of child labor laws and
Hmm.
everything. And so I don't even know where I was going with this.
Well, I was trying to figure out like because were watching a couple of episodes of other shows where they were in like the Full House episode.
Yeah.
Like I remember that obviously once I started watching it, but the fact that I think they were both credited for that role is very strange to me because they were at an age where I'm like, and it was such a small role. I'm like, why
Mhm.
did they actually
I
switch? I was trying to figure out
I
was it the
want I
same.
wonder if maybe like one of them was sick or something like that, where they could only do. Because
Did you watch it? Because I was trying to figure out if it looked if it was Tia or
I
Tamera or if it was
didn't get
both.
to that one.
Okay.
That I do apologize this week. This past week was it's this week's just been that that hectic and no, it's one of those things where okay, I remember where I was going with that. You either see twins as playing the twins or playing the same role. And so it was interesting, even looking at their career now, how much they've there's really not much of an overlap
Mm,
anymore of
no.
them even being on the same thing, which I think really speaks volumes to
Mm-hmm.
them as actors to not they don't have to rely on each other in that
Right.
sense. Now, Mary Kay and Ashley, their brand was the two of them together. And that was what they were pretty much branded at.
Mm-hmm.
And so again, Mary Kate did stuff after turning 18. She kept acting for a little while. I actually really liked her stuff that
Yeah, I
she
feel like
did.
she was pulling like a Tia and Tamera, trying to branch out and see if she
Yeah.
could do her own thing. I mean, it's because it probably was very difficult. Like,
And very new, I feel that she didn't have Ashley to be there and lean on. And maybe that's
mm-hmm.
part of why she decided against continuing to pursue, where Ashley was focusing more on building their fashion brand. Um, but like I said, I actually personally I loved her freaking role in Beastly. I
Right.
think
Oh,
that
yeah.
was
I think she did just a fine job on the roles
yeah.
that she did by herself.
But I do, like I said, I love that Tia and Tamara didn't allow their twinness to
Mm-hmm.
be their sole brand.
Right.
And
Yeah.
they branded themselves. And that as an actor, I feel as an actor being a twin and coming up as a twin to in the eyes
Mm-hmm.
of the world is hard. I mean,
Right.
there's tons of twins that one acts, the other has nothing to do with acting.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, Ashton Kutcher, Vin Diesel. I mean, there's just a few names out there. And then there's other twins that either stick with being the twinness or like Tia and Tamara, the Ashmores. I don't know if I've ever even seen them in the same movie or show together. I don't know. It's crazy. I will admit, personally, I loved with like Sister Sister how it was kind of that separated at birth thing.
Mm-hmm.
Did you ever wish that you had a twin that was separated at birth after watching that?
I don't know, to be honest. I think like Mary Kay and Ashley always kind of gave me the hopes of like, oh, or like just, oh, what would it have been like to have a twin, like having one.
Mhm.
But I don't know if I ever thought, oh, I was switched, like, because I even remember watching like that switched at birth show, like, oh, were you switched at
Yeah.
birth? Or, is there another person like you? But I mean, only thing I ever think of is like, oh, is there like a doppelganger? Like,
Yeah. I know that's where it's now. But you can't even believe pictures because so
Mm.
pictures can be doctored so
Yeah,
much
right.
anymore.
It's me.
Yeah.
Yikes.
I mean, who knows if this is even what I truly look like right now.
Ooh.
Which would be completely different, like if we had never met each other in person and everything. But you're sitting there like, yeah, that's totally what you look
Oh my God, that's
like.
so creepy, right? Yeah, no, I'm like, okay, April, yeah, you keep, yeah, okay.
Did you ever watch Smart Guy growing up? Because that was, I mean, you were 9, 10 when it came out. Um, I didn't know if that would have been too.
Yes. So no, that was funny because when I was rewatching it, I'm like, it's familiar, but not in the sense of like Sister Sister,
Mhm.
um, or Full House, but like. I don't know why I didn't gravitate towards that show. I don't, I think just because the fact that it was like a lead boy in it, I don't know, it just didn't really resonate with me because he was so brainy and he was so into like all of these technological things. I don't know, I just think that it just wasn't up my alley at the age that I was, which would have been 10. So I'm just becoming more obsessed with, horses and blah 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 blah. So but it was funny because I was rewatching some of the episodes and it's actually like a really good show. Like it's
It
actually
really
very,
is.
very clever. Um and my boyfriend was watching it with me and he's like, "Oh yeah, I remember watching some of the shows." And he's like, "I almost kind of resembled his character. Like he was very similar, like looks and just the fact that
Uh-huh.
he was so smart for his age." And I'm just like, I can see that. That's hilarious. That's
Yeah.
honestly like so fitting. But was that a show that you remember watching though?
Actually, yeah, it's funny because so I didn't get again. I'm really kind of sad because I didn't rewatch any of those. But I still can remember the sister, her when she'd get like annoyed or anything, and the eyes,
Mm-hmm.
the whole like eye roll, and
Oh my
she did.
gosh, yes.
Oh my God, I still because I'm like I was I'm trying to remember some of the episodes, and that's just the big thing that popped into my mind was her doing that. And I go, in my mind, I'm thinking, that is the show, right? I've got the right character. And just
I
re-looking it
I
up,
was wondering what else she was in though, because she is very like familiar to me, and I'm like, is it because I watched some of this show? That's that was one of the things I was trying
she was
to
she was in the
remember.
TV show Are We There Yet? I've got her pulled up here right now. Essence Atkins. I like that name.
Hmm.
Um, House of Pain, a few episodes.
No, I'm sure I did see her like
Yeah.
in a lot of those 90s things that I would have maybe just saw like a rerun airing or just something random that
Yeah.
she was in. Like she's very familiar, and so
I didn't realize until just looking now that he was only in about 6 episodes. He played Coach Gerber, Dan Florek, who was the captain in Law and Order SVU.
oh really?
Later, like just after Smart Guy.
Oh, okay, but he had like a couple of
He was in a few episodes of Smart Guy first because
and then he went on to
SVU.
have like an amazing.
Yeah. And like Kyla
Well,
Pratt was
I
in a
was just
few
about to say, yeah,
episodes.
because that was one of the ones that like I watched the one with Tia and Tamera, and then like one of the episodes that came on after it was one where I was like, oh, that's Kyra. Do you remember that episode where they were guest starring with where they were like, they're obviously twins, and
Uh-huh.
then TJ's brother was pretending to be a twin himself to try to get with both of them?
Yes. Oh my gosh, I completely like it. It's one of those things that doesn't is like in the back of your mind where having a prompt like that. Yes, I
Yeah.
do remember that. Oh man.
Yeah, he's playing Marcus, his real character, and then he's playing, I think, what's it, Marquise is the
Yeah.
other one.
Yeah, it was like it wasn't even a different name. It was just a different pronunciation.
It's just so ridiculous. But okay, so my issue with that episode is like how it ended. Like it was believable almost up until this point, but then when they both were there with him and were realizing that he was the same
Mhm.
person, I thought that they were like messing with him to where they were like, oh, but I want to be with Marquise. No, I want to be with Marquise. But they were actually being serious. And it like really threw me for a loop because I thought that they were just not really overacting, but I just thought that was a little bit cheesy in a sense of where it just was throwing me. And I was like, okay, well, but you guys are really being serious and you want to be with this character. It wasn't believable. I think that was my problem. It was just like, okay, but why?
Yeah, no, I
That was
get
my main gripe with that episode, was that it was just like it was good up into the ending, and I was like, it's not believable, but okay.
it.
But yeah, it was a cool show. Like I was actually, for it being so dated,
Hmm.
I actually found it to be like I really enjoyed like the dad's character. I mean, they were all just so
Yeah,
good at their roles.
and you could just enjoy each character separately too. And I mean, the dad's done, I mean, he's freaking John Marshall Jones is
Oh yeah, he's been in so
done
many things.
so much.
Hmm.
And it's always one of those things. It's one of those things seeing him in some of the newer stuff. You're like, where do I remember him from? And honestly, Smart Guy never pops into my head because it's just been so long since I have seen that. But now looking back, I'm finally putting connections and being like, no shit, April. That's where you saw him because you would watch because I would watch Smart
Hmm.
Guy.
It almost become, yeah, you would just watch like multiple things in a row. It's like, oh,
Yeah.
smart guy came on after Sister or whatever,
Yeah.
the order was. And you would just be like, oh, okay. And then like one of your characters from a different show, they would like pop in as a guest star and then be like, oh, well,
Mhm.
cool. Like now I gotta watch this show. And so I mean,
Exactly. You know that they're gonna be on there's gonna be a get because they'd always guest starring or something. They'd always make sure to have that in the preview for the
hmm.
episode throughout the week.
Oh
And
yeah.
so
So
you're anticipating it.
So with the sister episode where Mary Kate and Ashley were in it, do you remember like the promo? Were there any promos up to it, or like how did you find out about it? Because I remember you saying you remember watching that episode, but I'm gonna have to be honest, I don't think I do. Like I don't feel like I ever remember watching that when it
I
came out.
I truly did remember because I remember her Tamera's character, the whole oh Daryl, and then I know Coolio. That part I did rewatch that last night and was like, yeah, I remember that. And I think they did have a promo for it
Hmm.
where it was guest starring Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen. And so of course anything I think it was one of those situations where I probably wasn't even in the room when the promo came on.
Hmm.
And my parents knew that anything Mary Kate and Ashley, I
Like,
needed to
oh,
know.
we better
I
go get
needed to
her.
know. And so they either told me or I heard them like talking because it was also one of those things where like if I could hear the TV and if I heard somebody I recognized, I immediately was, who, what? Because that's actually how, for me personally, hearing people I recognize faster than even
Hmm.
just seeing them.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Now, obviously, like Mary Kay and Ashley, that's completely different. But in general, I can when I hear somebody, it there that's when the the neurons or whatever in my brain are going off saying, "Hey, you know this person, you know who this person is," kind of situation. And so I do remember there had to have been a promo or something, or it could have been a situation where it was just on and
Hmm.
it then there was they'll be going against the Olsen twins or whatever and then immediately if I was playing with a toy or something I would have stopped, but I do remember that episode.
Yeah, it was a cute episode. I was
Oh.
very like fascinated with the the outfit choices for
Hmm.
both for like Tia and Tamara. Theirs were great. But then I was a little like disappointed with Mary Kate. I like it was just like a I don't know what direction they were going for. Like they both just looked so for their age at that point. I was like, what's going on with their attire here?
I
Like
I feel like it was honestly. a last minute situation. Obviously Ashley because she was in the slime outfit or whatever. But for with them not being in those outfits, I feel it was almost just a costuming was probably like, oh, we don't have anything that's going to fit them. Crap situation.
Yeah,
Because
it
I
could have
mean,
been.
they
Yeah.
because if you think about it, there really weren't younger people on that show. It was more the high school age or
Hmm.
late middle school, whatever it was supposed to be at the beginning, up. And there wasn't like younger siblings or anything to where they already had a set of smaller people's clothes, like younger kids' clothes. What about, okay, all right, so you know what I didn't know originally with Sister Sister, obviously, because Roger, you
Hmm.
know who Roger is, right?
Hmm. Like who he is or
Mhm.
not off the top of my head. Who is he?
Marcus Houston, who
Marquise?
I've
I don't know. I'm just
see, that is I'm going off of my Midwestern pronunciations. All right. Did you ever listen to the boy group B2K?
Hmm. I don't think so. Doesn't sound
Okay.
familiar.
His little brother, Omar, was like the lead singer of B2K.
Okay. Hmm.
And it was funny because when B2K was kind of blowing up a little bit, my brother really liked them. And there was a music video. And we were watching the music video. I'm like, that's Roger. That's Roger. And my brother's like, no, because Marcus was in a handful of their music videos and everything.
Mm.
And he's like, no, that's Marcus Houston. I was like, but that's Roger from Sister Sister. It was again one of those, oh my gosh, situations.
Right. You're like, oh, look at him.
And
He's outside of something
yeah,
else. Like, oh, who would have thought he could do
yeah.
anything else
They
besides
actually have lives. They
like,
do other things. What?
and
What?
he's probably less annoying than his character. It's like, uh, I feel like that was probably one of the reasons why I didn't watch Sister Sister as much. He was just, yeah, his character. I could not.
Yeah. And it's like, and I feel like didn't they phase out of his character when the girls went to college? I
It
feel
wouldn't
he
surprise me. Probably.
because I just feel like because the girls had boyfriends. And
Girl, you know more than I do. Like I said, kind of really didn't watch it that
well,
much.
so that's okay. Give me 1 second here because the guy who played, I think it was Tamera's boyfriend, like towards the end of the show and everything,
Hmm.
he did a lot too.
I didn't even know that they went off to college in the show. So
Really? So when did you stop watching? Do
I
you think?
can't even say that I was like a consistent watcher. I think it was
Okay.
more so what we were talking about before, if it came on before or after something, if I was just kind of bored and oh, there's some couple episodes of Sister Sister on. Um, because I don't feel like anything that I remember watching was ever in like chronological order, so I would just kind of
Mhm.
jump around to random things, but I feel like it was definitely the earlier, probably 94 to 96, or maybe like 95 to 97, like, but
Okay.
so more like between that.
I understand. It wasn't something that I would be, oh, Sister's on, I have to watch it situation. Kind of like
Right.
you, but I would, I mean, they would binge it, like play 5 or 6 episodes
Mm-hmm.
at a time and or like 2 hours worth, so 4 episodes. And so I would watch. I would just sit there for the 2 hours and just watch the whole thing because they would play the consecutive episodes. So it was kind of like a mini story, like where you could follow
Oh yeah.
along
Yeah.
in a sense.
But
But
I think like they were in high school for the show, just basically for most of the show, right? Like they were
so
high
for
schoolers.
Yeah, the last, I think it's 2 years. Yeah, I think the last 2 years or so,
We're out
is
of.
when they branched into college
I think that
because
was part of why,
mhm,
you're not really in that age range. So it's a little bit, you only really watch it because you're like, oh, like, what are they doing? Because they're a little older. Like, is this how my high school is going to be? Or like, oh, what are
yeah,
they wearing? Like, I think it was more watching it for those aspects because it wasn't really something that I could relate to at all, just because I wasn't into boys, I wasn't into all the girly stuff. And so,
mhm,
it's just sometimes when there's like a divide and like things that you're interested in, it's hard to. The only thing I was like, literally was like T and Tamera were just so captivating with their roles. Like they're just amazing at it, and like you just
yeah.
loved watching them on screen because they just were so good.
Oh yeah. Gosh, I forgot that Brittany Murphy was in a
I
handful
know.
of
I was just
episodes.
looking. I was like, oh,
And then Bianca Lawson, do you know
yeah. That was one of the
name wise?
episodes that when I had watched,
Yeah.
she popped. Well, wait, was it? Actually, no, it wasn't Sister Sister. It was she was in a Smart Guy episode.
Bianca Lawson, I'm sure.
Yeah, she was. She was in a. I was like, oh, that's a Pretty Little Liars girl. I was like,
Yeah.
oh, yeah, she was in a Smart Guy one. That's funny. And then she was also in Sister Sister.
It they just did that. They
They
would
did
do that.
that.
It was like
Hmm.
you're on. Well, no, granted, I don't know. Like, I think her time on Sister Sister was technically, yeah, technically before Smart Guy,
Hmm.
even came out. But it was one of the. I feel like it was a situation. If you were working on, say, Sister Sister this week, next week you were working on Smart Guy, because I'm assuming that they probably were on the same lot. And so it was probably the studios were probably close together to where it could be that quick
You know what's
thing.
funny is that like on her profile thing on Wiki is that they don't have her age, and I always found it like
Bianca,
so. Yeah, because like obviously she was in high school in the 90s, but then when she was in Pretty Little Liars, she was also
she,
playing
so
high school.
she I feel like is kind of like Jason Earls, who was playing who played Miley Cyrus's brother in Hannah Montana in the
Mm, mm-hmm,
2000s.
mm-hmm.
He was like 30.
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. But
So
they probably lied about their age and were able to get.
well, no, not necessarily. That's the thing. Like he was right after he was on a different Disney show and was playing like an adult and everything. But
Ugh, that's so weird.
I think it's just that some people just
Well, some
are
people look it and they can pull
graced
it
with
off.
yeah, graced with that. So Bianca's actually just a year younger than or yeah, a year younger than Tia and Tamara. IMDb actually has that
Okay.
information.
Okay. So yeah, no, I remember like when she was in Pretty Little Liars, there was a lot of talk about that, and she was already in her 30s, like during that show, and everyone was like,
Yeah.
"What?
Well, I mean,
That's
like all of,
crazy."
with the exception of Sasha,
I mean, yeah, most of them were
all of
already in
them
their 20s, like.
were 18 to 18 plus.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's crazy because then talking about that, I after having watched like Pretty Little Bianca and Pretty Little Liars, she's also in Teen Wolf,
Hmm.
where it's a completely different character and went from or even Vampire Diaries.
Did she play a role in that?
Yeah.
Okay, I was because that's what I was my first instinct. I was like, Vampire Diaries. I'm like, no,
She
Pretty Little
was
Liars. But yeah,
she
okay,
was she was
Emily. Yeah,
yeah, she was Emily.
yeah.
She was did a lot of different things, but it is crazy to see to go back and see those of who you watch now
Kind of like
or
where they originated from.
yeah, or where why your like I said, why your brain tickles you and says, "Hey, they look really familiar."
Hmm.
And you just can't place it. And that's probably why for me, because I didn't I watched Pretty Little Liars before like Teen Wolf and Vampire Diaries and everything because I didn't watch those until they were pretty much already done.
Mm.
And then I just binged the entire thing. I even remember the first time seeing her character Maya on Little Liars. I even looked at my mom. I'm like, how do I know her? Like, she looks familiar. And I was like, oh, you've probably seen her on other things. I'm like, but that doesn't help. I want to place it. And
That's
now, after
parents.
all these years, after 13, 14 years, I can now
You're
fucking
like,
place it.
oh,
It was sister, damn it.
that's funny. Yeah. Parents are always just like, whatever. We're like, okay, I gotta look on my phone. I gotta get on the computer. I gotta figure out where this person's from.
Alex yells at me because I'll literally do that. I'll be like, oh, they look familiar or they sound familiar. He's like, don't. I'm like,
I know,
which
it's like an
one?
obsession now.
I'm like, you gotta let me, you gotta let
And it's
me.
always disappointing when you're like, oh, that's so and so from, and then it's like not, and it's somebody else that kind of looks like them. And you're like, shit, okay, well, we were wrong. Okay, did you get a chance to watch the Are You Afraid of the Dark episode? Because that one,
No, you didn't
oh
send me the
my,
link.
oh my gosh, girl.
All you did was I say I
I
found it
thought
on
you
YouTube.
could find stuff. Why don't
Well,
you
I said you
search all the
could too.
time? I just typed it in and then it popped up because I was gonna
I didn't
like
even
end up
remember
buying
that
the
they were on
episode, but
there.
then I found it on YouTube. I'm like, oh, thank God.
Which one was it? Both of them or
Yeah. They were both in it.
okay?
It was
Remind me of the episode
it
because
was like
I watched most of
okay.
Are You Afraid of the Dark
See,
when
I
they
didn't. Like I wasn't a big fan of that show, or I just never was around when it's on. I don't know. Like maybe I just
I would sneak watching it. I remember watching it when I was like 5 or something. And it was because it was, I mean, I think obviously at that time it was probably reruns. I don't know. I don't even remember exactly the
yeah.
timing it aired, but I remember watching and it was always TVY7. And I asked, I was like, what does that mean?
Mhm.
And my mom was like, that means that it's for like people 7 years older. And I'm like,
Ooh, I'm a
I'm
big
watching,
girl.
like, I'm being a bad girl. I'm watching something I shouldn't be before I should.
Oh, that's
But
hilarious.
so remind me of the episode because I probably did watch it.
So it's about a chameleon, and well, one of them is at a pet shop, and they see a chameleon, and the first thing that I can't stand is like basically the opening is this little boy, and they're at this pet shop, and this little boy is like taunting these animals there. And I'm like, okay, kid, someone needs to smack you. Like I texted you. I'm like, okay, this show's pissing me off already.
I
Like
wasn't
that.
sure which one you were referring to when you said that.
I was just
And
like,
I'm like,
okay,
which one
someone needs to take you out. And so then they
is
see this chameleon and they were at like, she was asking him about it and they were like, he was telling him something. I don't remember what he said. And so they somehow then the chameleon gets out because the kid's just stupid. And the chameleon goes home with her and she gets bit. And it's something with like when you get bit by the chameleon a couple times, it will
like turn into you? Like,
you like turn into it, but like it's a second version of you. And it's like the
okay.
bad version of you or something.
Yeah. Okay. I vaguely, I think I vaguely, like, I don't know if I'd be able to reach back that far to truly pull out the memory, but I sort of do.
It's fu you should rewatch it. It's quite humorous. Like
Yeah.
it's a good episode. Like it was really fun. But there was like a couple of parts where they were trying to like catch the chameleon and then she would like grab it and like the prop chameleon is just hilarious because it's so blatantly obvious that like it's just this thing. And I'm just
Yeah.
like, oh my God, the budget is hilarious. But then there was like this other scene where the parents were in the kitchen and the mom's unloading groceries and she has like a carton of eggs and she opens it and like one or two of them were like cracked. And this lady takes the whole carton and dumps them out into the sink. And like, you know how everyone had like one of those garbage disposal things in their sink basically in the 90s. And she just, I'm like, there was only two bad eggs. What are you doing?
Well, because, okay, I will say on that one, usually because they're with the same batch and everything, that if there's one or two, most of the likelihood that the rest of them are bad is very high. Like that's why people go, that's why like every time I buy
I
eggs,
think that's a myth. Like, you need
I
to just check them. Like, those are
I check. Like I go through and I check.
animals
And if
going
they're
through
if
torture for those, and you just threw them all down the. Oh my
yeah,
God, it just
no.
frustrated me. But besides
I
that,
yeah, no. I'll have to see about if could you send me the link because
yeah,
half the time when I find stuff on YouTube, it's like the wrong thing, and that's why like anymore I unless I have links or I'm posting my own videos, I don't use YouTube just because it just I get too frustrated.
yeah, I know. It's yeah, it was a good episode. I thought they were really fun in it. Like, I think they really enjoyed. You could tell that they really enjoyed like that role because it was a little bit different than I think what they were doing on Sister Sister at that time. So
Yeah.
it was fun for them, but yeah, I liked it. And then some of those Are You Afraid of the Dark episodes can be a little, I don't know, they're just a little cheesy. They're really like
Mhm.
you're hoping for more of a build up and it's just kind of like eh.
Yeah.
Besides like the Ryan Gosling one, I feel like
Oh my gosh,
that was
that
probably in my
I'm
top
still
three.
scarred from. And like if I ever got the chance to meet him or anything, I'd be
Good luck
like,
with that.
oh, I know. That's why I said if ever. I'd be like, dude, what the fuck? That Are You Afraid of the Dark episode this many years later. I'll be like, dude.
That's funny that I'm sure he gets remembered for that a lot though, because I feel like it is a very, it's just like,
Well, I also had
I don't know. It
it
had
had
Gilbert
Godric.
Gottfried. Yeah. I mean,
Godfrey,
it's
yes.
just a memorable episode. Like for me, like not really watching the show, I feel like it's very, I don't know, it's one of
I
those
remember
episodes
watching
that stands out.
I remember that watching that episode, and I think it was one of the it was like a late night. I
Hmm.
couldn't sleep, so I
Let me
my
put on Are You Afraid of the Dark?
yeah, exactly. My mom was in bed. My brothers and my dad were out for something, like they were a game or doing something. It was just me and my mom, I believe. And I was like, well, can I watch TV? Because my mom had a headache or something. And so she was going to bed. I was like, can I just watch TV? She's like, yeah, but you need to be done by a certain time or something. And
Mhm.
I didn't. And I don't even remember. Maybe that my dad and my brothers were like on a little trip or something because it was late, like 11 p.m. or something when I was watching this.
Ooh.
And it was that episode, and I remember like turning on all the lights in like the kitchen light, the living room light. My
Hmm.
mom, I think, saw it and comes out and is like, what's going on? I'm like,
Excuse me, girl.
oh,
What are you doing up?
I was watching TV. I lost track of time. Why are all the lights up? I forgot to turn them off. Okay, talking about cheesy effects, twitches.
Yeah, I was rewatching that.
Okay, so
He,
real quick, when you rewatched it, did you recognize the boy at the beginning?
what boy at the beginning?
Okay, when the guy's got Artemis and he pops into our world
Hmm.
and runs into trick-or-treaters, the little boy who takes off his mask. He wasn't little,
No, I
but
must have not been paying attention at that point. I don't even remember that.
that was Toby from Degrassi, the next gen.
What? Oh man,
Yes.
I missed that. I'm gonna go back and
Yes.
rewatch. Huh, that's funny. I love
I'm
that.
assuming I think they filmed it in Canada.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Everything.
Hmm.
So I'm assuming that's kind of what it was and everything. But yeah, that was Toby. Anyways, so cheesy. I'm actually very disappointed. Like rewatching, I was very
For
disappointed
for
with.
a decom of like 2005, yeah, I agree. It seemed like, well, one, it was kind of almost a knockoff of Halloween Town. Like they were trying to continue that witches route, but they were doing it with like twins and stuff. Like I got the
Well,
premise,
so
but
it's based off of a book.
yeah.
And I remember I was so intrigued by it that I had bought the first book. I think it's a
Oh,
series.
really?
hmm I remember getting it, but it was a lot going on and everything, and I just never actually truly read it because I was very curious. I've always been,
I love like supernatural. Like I
yeah,
love all that witchcraft. Yeah.
supernatural witchcraft. It's always just not, it's not something like a practice or any of that kind of thing, obviously, but it's just always been intriguing to me.
But I think it was
And
like a continuation of the success that like Halloween Town had, and
mhm,
then Charmed was, obviously still going and super big. And I think that they were trying to find a different avenue of like
kind of
what they could do
child
with it.
friendly,
Yeah.
like another child friendly one.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's a fun movie, but it's not one that I recall watching more than like once. And I'm sure it's just because I was doing like a Halloween movie watch at that time because it obviously would air in October. And it probably was just one that, oh, what's this? Oh, Tia and Tamera are back doing some stuff. Okay, cool. And then you watch it once, you're like, eh, like,
Yeah. Yeah, I feel like there was a lot more they could have done with that. And it just was so rushed. I mean, it's supposed
yeah.
to take place in a single day.
I know. And by the end of the movie, I'm like, wait, they're still in the same clothes. This was all in a day? Like this just it was
No,
not believable for all
I
that to
mean,
have
not just
happened.
that, but like also the whole situation and them being 21.
Hmm.
I feel like it would have been more believable for me if they were 18.
Oh, really? They were just too
Yeah,
old though at that point. I just
because like, okay, Tia's character doesn't have a job, all that kind of like, I mean,
yeah, for a Disney movie, it wasn't really setting a good example
it
for
really wasn't. And
kids.
like, Tamara's character, like just her,
Tamara didn't have anything. She just had parents that had
well,
money, so she
that's
didn't
the
have.
thing. But like even her outlook seemed very more like high school still,
Hmm.
as
Still very
opposed
immature. Like they
as
haven't.
opposed to in college. And
Hmm.
then Twitches 2 is supposed to take place like that you actually see them in college, but
Hmm.
it's like it's a few years later.
Yeah.
And so that's where I feel Disney just really
They
dropped
dropped
the
the ball.
ball on that.
Yeah,
And
I think they were trying to, like I said, continue on with that, but they were also trying to bring Tia and Tamara back into their
mhm,
Disney world.
mhm.
And, but it just, I
I
just
mean,
don't, I think they were just kind of past the Disney at that point, and that's why I think they just,
not even that, honestly. I could see this could have been done like it could have been done outside of Disney, still with Tia and Tamara,
hmm.
and just had a better production.
Yeah, I think that's just what failed them. The production just,
I there's and I don't know if it's if it where it would actually lay blame in that sense, whether it would be like, is it the producers, is it the screenwrite, is it the director, is it I feel like it's most I feel honestly, I feel like it's probably the mouse, Disney was if because this had potential. This did have
oh
potential.
yeah, I mean, whenever you bring Tia and Tamara into a project, absolutely. I mean,
And they, like I said, this could have had so much more potential, but I think with Disney being involved, it made it which this is what drives me crazy because Disney has, I mean, their budgets really don't seem to
I
have
mean,
a cap.
according to Wiki, it was a $20 million budget for this.
Okay, I wonder if that whole budget just went to Tia and Tamara.
I doubt it. I doubt that, like, I still feel like that was, I don't know, like, I don't know that they got a lot of it, but
because I just feel like that with that much of a budget, they should have still been able to.
I think they were trying to take the cheaper way out and be like, oh, it's got Tia Tamera. Oh, it's like, everyone, it's, oh, well, it was also, wasn't this around the time when Wizards of Waverly Place was out? And they had a lot of like cheesy visual effects. So I do feel like they were trying to,
So Wizards is a little different because because that was filmed in front of a live studio
well,
audience, and
right.
so
I
like
get, I get that.
there was only so much to
They
do.
could get away with it, but that's what I'm saying. I think they were trying to do the same thing with this, was like try to get
Yeah.
away with it and be like, oh, they won't care.
Oh, they won't
They're gonna
notice.
look past that.
We won't notice that that 90% of the freaking movie is in front of a green screen and you can tell that it's like it's blatantly obvious. I mean, movies that were shot in the freaking 80s some better green screen transitions and everything.
Well, I mean, that was another thing, especially around this time. Like Disney was doing like a movie a month, basically. I mean, they were just like
I
throwing
I
shit
do
out
remember
so
that.
much. And so I think there were a lot of good ones, but there were also a lot of crap ones. And I think it's just because some of them were more rushed and they didn't really have great people behind them. And, you could tell the good ones versus the bad one. And usually
Mhm.
when you watch, usually when with the good ones, it was a lot of the same people behind it. And you're like, okay,
Yeah.
well, we know like this is going to be a good movie. So I think that was also probably part of the problem. They were just
Yeah.
way too much on their
Which
plate.
it was nice
I love that though, because
that
I had
it was
something to watch like all the
every
time.
month. Yeah. But that's the thing. Like most of the time they didn't really do stuff that include they tried to I feel like they did try to space like their big like special effects movies that would
Hmm.
have used a lot of special effects. It wasn't like one right after the other.
Right.
Um because there was like what my stepsister from Planet Weird. They're obviously like Halloween Towns, but I feel like actually most of those the special effects were more actually more just true palpable things as
Hmm.
opposed to the lights and the slowing down and everything that Twitch is used. And I can't remember, it has been a little while since I did Twitches too. I remember the storyline with it, but I just feel like it was a little better if I remember correctly. It wasn't quite as blatantly
Yeah, I don't really recall
horrendous.
watching the second one ever.
I wa well, that's the thing. So the second one, I remember wanting to watch it, and I missed it when it originally aired, and it didn't re-air for a long time. Like a lot
Hmm.
of times with the DComs, it would air and then it was in a rotation.
Oh, wow.
I could not, and I think even Twitches itself. I remember I've had trouble being able to watch it in one sit down because I missed it the first time. Like I caught it halfway through or something.
Ooh.
And it sucked for me because again, like I said, I love anything that I give anything with like the supernatural a chance. At least one chance. I wasn't able to do a full chance with either of those for the longest time because they just weren't playing.
Hmm. Yeah, that's strange. I mean, and sometimes it's hard to like air movies like this all year versus just around like, Halloween.
Mhm.
Are people gonna really watch it? So, you know.
Which I don't know. For me, I feel like the whole supernatural stuff it shouldn't just be sequestered to October.
No, I don't
Because I
either.
mean
But I
it's
mean,
like
they kind of did it to
I get that
themselves
that
by making it based in October. So right there, you're like,
yeah,
okay,
no,
well,
I do get that, but like it's one of those things where I mean, heck, especially if we're going in with like Wiccan and everything. I mean, like the different solstices, and I mean, there's a whole aspect that could be tapped into that nobody has. And I was kind of hoping originally when Twitches came out that that was going to be
Mm,
because of the focus more on the sun and moon, that it seemed to be like in the previews. I believe the books more focused on that, but
hmm.
the movies just really didn't even touch on
That's
that at
yeah,
all.
that's
It
so
mentioned
weird.
it that like Cam always up with the sun and she's most vulnerable at
Right.
night
Yeah.
and vice versa, but that was really the
That was
only
it. Yeah,
mention
you're
of it.
right. Yeah, they could have done way more. That would have been really cool to have some sort of like astrological, sort of
Yeah.
like just different, I don't know. Yeah, that could have been, and I'm sure the book is probably a bit better, like the detail it goes into.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah. But
so the last thing I wanted to talk about was 17 again. That movie being out in 2000, and having all three of them in it. I think
mhm.
that that was I'm very curious as to like how that project came to be, to like have all three of them in it, and like what sort of brought that about. Because it
Well,
wasn't like a movie where they were playing twins, you know what I mean? Like
mhm.
that.
Well, so I think probably their mom had a lot for that because she managed their careers
Hmm.
and was real like their dad. I was reading up on it. Like dad's was retired military and then police officer, and mom, her for the most part, she was just their sole manager
Hmm.
for all three of them. And they have a younger brother who just never got into acting.
Oh.
So I feel like she probably spearheaded. I want we've had episodes here and there, but let's do a full movie where it's okay, it's filming for 4 or 5 weeks, however long the filming was. Where honestly, she didn't have to also go like to 6 different places.
Yeah, it was probably nice for mom for once to be able
Yeah.
to just have all of her kids there, and they could just all be
Yeah.
doing the same thing. Like, yeah. It's funny that like they did another 17 again, which was always so confusing. Like you know what I mean? Like what?
With Zac Efron.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that's where so this one, yeah, this one had come out on Disney. Like I said, this came out on Disney like 2004, I feel like.
Okay.
And so it wasn't that 2000 because if it was that 2000 it would have been like, oh, okay.
It would have made sense. Yeah,
It would
yeah.
have made sense. Because again, like there was something else that came out in like 2003 or something that had Tahj in it. And then this one being released as the D with DCOM, it just didn't make sense because
Hmm.
you just released something that had Tahj and he was 15 or whatever his age, and now that you're releasing this where he's 12, or I'm just throwing the
Right,
number
right.
there, like I don't know his birthday exactly, so I couldn't tell you, but well, actually I think he was right around Mary Kate and Ashley's age, like 80, 85, 86.
Yeah, I think they were. Hmm.
Yeah, so 17 again. I think I've only seen that movie probably twice myself.
Yeah, so I don't know that I've ever seen it. There was a scene that I thought was really funny because did you ever see Save the Last Dance with Julia Stiles?
Like twice in my life.
So I mean, regardless, like you know her big dance like routine
Uh-huh.
that she does. Okay, but there is a part in 17 again where I don't remember which character which one does it, but she does like a dance. I think it's like an audition for something at her
Uh-huh.
school. And I'm not kidding. It's like so similar to that dance that Julia did. I'm like, oh my God, what, like, did somebody copy somebody? Because this is
Probably.
hilarious. Like hilarious. I
Wow. I do remember that a little bit. That part. I can see it, but
like it really just wasn't a great dance. Like she really didn't do anything. Like for to
yeah,
audition for I forgot what if it was a dance team or what exactly because I really just wasn't paying attention. But just her moves, and she's just like kind of hopping around and just and I'm like, this
yeah,
isn't really like
yeah. I did find it interesting though how they kind of I feel like they also kind of continue to play on Taj's character from Smart Guy.
I was wondering about that too. I'm like, okay, so he's basically just a grown-up Jane right now. Like, why? Like, I
Mhm.
wonder why. I mean, well, I don't really need to wonder. They do get stereotyped in roles, and so it was probably an easy, like, oh, you're just going to continue playing the
Yeah,
smart kid. Like, I mean, you're just going to be the genius of the family again.
yeah.
So, I just
It's
he plays the role well, though. I mean,
he
he really
does.
does. But I feel bad that, like, I wonder how long it took for him to break out of that mold. Like, I wonder what was some of his like next roles after that? Because I really am curious.
He did.
When did he finally get to
Like
do?
he also in the
He did a couple of DComs, Hounded, The Proof
yeah,
Point.
well, that's what I was saying. Like, I think it was Hounded, something, like I said, something came out as a decom just before 17 again, where he was older. And it was just, and so
Hmm.
I know he was, like I said, he was just he was Disney's first prince in a sense. Like I think of him as like one of Disney's like
First
original
Prince.
like he was a prince of Disney.
You
Like
think? You think he was more
with
so than
everything
like
that
Boy Meets World
with
kids?
honestly with as much as he did because Boy Meets World they really just pretty much did Boy Meets World. It really wasn't them doing 10 other projects. I mean, he did, yeah, Hounded Proof Point.
Oh, I do remember him from which he definitely was not playing a genius. Baby Daddy. Did you remember? Did you watch that show?
That's what I was trying, that's where
I
what I was
forgot.
trying to
Yeah, he was in that.
remember,
I
like
love
to
that show.
find, because I couldn't remember what it was exactly. But yeah, because yeah, Baby Daddy. Okay, yeah, but like because he was also the voice of Wade in Kim Possible. I don't know
Yeah,
if
I
you ever
never really
watched.
watched Kim Possible, I'm gonna be
So
honest.
he was the guy behind he was the guy behind the screen, like the that was always like telling him like giving Kim her
Oh,
permissions in
okay.
a sense.
Okay.
His character was like a super smart techie guy and
Oh,
everything.
so still the same.
Yeah. Like I said, I feel like he was kind of he had in a I feel he was like a prince of Disney in a sense because like I said, he just had so much that he was doing with Disney, so many different projects. I mean, he was guest starring on different things and it just there wasn't really anybody
He didn't
else.
really guest star on anything besides
Well, so
like Full
I mean,
House.
sister. He was also I
That's
just
about it though, I feel like
he
for
was in
Disney.
Sweet. He was in guest starred in Sweet Life.
Well,
And that
yeah,
was,
I mean, but you're talking now 2006. So,
I mean, but like but he from, I mean, his Smart Guy was started in 97. So he's a few, his
yeah. I mean,
group.
he's obviously like more of our generation because
Yeah.
he's like our age. T and Tamera are a little bit older.
Yeah. And then also he did the whole uh circle of, what was it? The
I
Circle of
know.
Life
I
Disney
that
Channel
was
video.
always so iconic every
Yeah.
time that came on.
Oh yeah. It was interesting. I was reading like when he was he he used to play football and was playing in college, like started to like got to play in college or something, and then he stopped and went back to acting and also didn't want to do the football because he was felt like he was getting this is of course stuff from IMDb. So how true it is, I'm not sure. I'm assuming it probably was taken from bits of interviews and everything. But he had stopped because he felt like he was being targeted more because he was an actor.
Mm. At least he tried something different, though. I
Yeah.
mean, he did try to branch out, but he came back to what he loved, and hey,
Yeah.
yeah. Oh, that okay. So, if you had to pick, which one do you think is better, the theme song for Sister Sister or Smart Guy?
Give me a quick second. Let me see the smart guy one real quick because it's
If you can't remember it off the top of your head, that just tells me right there, sister, sister. Da,
okay.
da, da,
So
da, da, I don't even know the Smart Guy, dude. I'm gonna be honest.
so always remember the sister, sister. But then then I start to pull, I think it's like a freaking Cheetah Girl song
Oh gosh.
that kind of has like a little bit of the same like beat
Oh,
to
that's
it and
funny.
everything. Because when I was watching it the last night, I was like, okay, yeah, this is not what was pulling into my head. So probably I guess in a sense, probably Sister Sister. Um, I did like the first few seasons. I liked the later seasons intro that like theme
Mm-hmm.
song where it was actually like them kind of singing. Obviously, I mean I don't know if
They were
they
singing it?
like it, or at least mouthing the words and
Oh, okay.
stuff. And it was you'll have to look it up for
Yeah,
like
I
the
don't know if I've
last
seen
like two
the
seasons.
okay. Oh, the last two. Okay. So
Yeah.
they kind of changed the format a little bit. Okay.
Yeah, because I mean the Mary Kate and Ashley episode still had the
Mm-hmm.
older theme song set up, but when I think probably when they went to college is when
Okay.
they
Hmm.
switched it up. And I actually that was more memorable to me than the original.
Oh, wow.
So, question for you. Which Mowry sibling would you say is your favorite?
I knew you were gonna ask that.
Just based off of
I
their characters and everything. Let's do it based off of their characters of like the characters they usually play.
mostly who they played. I don't know who it was because, like I said, I still am like one of those that the people that I'm like the people that can't tell Mary Kate and Ashley. I'm like, how can you not tell them apart? Like I'm like with them with Tia and Tamera.
There.
I'm gonna be honest, I can't.
So which okay,
The one
so
that in Sister Sister, the one that was always more of the like brainy one.
okay. So the one that was with Jackie, like Jackie's character.
Yes, her
Okay.
daughter.
So that would
Mhm.
be Tia.
Tia. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
He is also mine too.
Oh,
Like
okay.
Tamara's usually played like way more almost a little too annoying characters
Yes.
for
Mm-hmm.
me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like her
And
whole obsession with like that guy in the game show episode. I'm like, okay, girl, if she doesn't want to be there, then you need to move
yeah,
on.
exactly. Whereas like Tia was most of the time her characters that she played at least when they played together
Right.
was more along my lines and everything. So yeah, I agree on that.
Well, look at us. We agreed on a sister.
We did. Oh, shucks.
Oh, that's funny.
All right.
That sounds
Well,
fun. Yeah.
yeah,
Little trip
I'm
down
gonna
Mowry Lane.
yeah, and I'm curious, I may start kind of deep dive in some of their more recent
Yeah,
projects.
that's what I was just thinking, like going back, I think is there something that I missed? Because I do remember like trying to watch like a lot of it, they do a lot of I don't know if it's Lifetime or Hallmark, a lot of those like movies with them, like Christmas ones and stuff. And I do remember anytime they had like one of those come out, I would try to watch it just to,
Yeah,
support them because I always loved watching them and stuff.
have to have another Mowry day. So,
Yeah.
all right. Well, until next time, peace out.
Bye everyone.